So next up, we're going to be seeing about margins and paddings. So let's start with margins first. Basically, we give margins to some element, and when we give some margin to the element, what happens is some space is added on the outside of that particular element. So we can have a better look over this. Let me just like zoom, like maximize the page, and what we can do is we can go to this option, right? I'll just right click on the page and go to the inspect element over here, right? So we can just inspect the page and we can have a better idea about margins and paddings over here. Okay, so if I just I see that my page, the entire HTML code is over here, and then the CSS code is over here, right? So now if I just use this tool over here to select, let's say I want to select this element over here, right? So you see that this particular element is having the div class 2, and then the text is written in the paragraph, the text is written dummy, right? So basically over here also we can just maybe make some changes, and we can see the live changes which is happening on the web page live, and if you refresh it, they will be like refresh. So it is a very good way to make some changes and see that how the things will look like on the web page. Okay, so what we can do is over here, if I just let's say click on this div over here, right? So all the CSS properties of the div are basically mentioned over here, right? Now if I go to this computed section over here, so you see that this particular selected div is basically having this margins and paddings that you see over here, right? So if I say that, okay, I'll just hover over it. So this is the element, the blue, which is you see over here, the text. So this is the space the text is taking on the web page, right? This is the padding, and after that then we have this border. So this much is the space border is taking. So 5 is the width of the border, and 15 are the curves, right? And then we have this margin space over here, right? So let's start with the margin over here. So let's say I just give some value over here. Let's say I give margin value 10. Okay, and over here also I'll give margin value 10, and over here also I'll give margin value 10 and 10 over here. So now you see that when I have given some margin value, so some space has been added on the outside of this div, right? Now similarly, if I just go to this P and I try to basically give some margins to this P, so let's say I give so 16 is given the top and bottom. Let's say I give 20 on the right and 20 on the left, right? So now you see that 20 space has been added from the right side, and let me just hover over it again, and 20 has been added from the left side also. So now if I just see over here, this web page is basically, there is a text on the web page and that is having some margins, like there is a space outside the P. So that is why we basically use margins, and we can basically just make changes over here and check how the margins are going to look on the page, right? And if I refresh the page, everything will be like reset to default. Now let's see how we can do this in the code. So let's say I have this P element over here, which is having the class dummy, and I want to give some margins on the dummy, right? So let me just comment this one for now. I'll just remove this for now. So now let's say I want to basically have a class dummy, and I want to give some margins on this, right? So basically I can say that margin top, I can give different margins to the different sides. So let's say I give 10 px, and if I save it, so 10 will be given on the top of the P, right? This dummy over here. And if I say margin right, let's say 15 for this also, okay, and margin left 15 px, and margin bottom 15 px. So there it is. Now you see, if I just comment this out, so originally the text was looking like this, and if I am adding some margins, so the now text is looking like this, right? Because I have given some margins. So these are the properties if you want to specifically give margins to the specified site, but there is a shorthand way of doing this, right? So what you can do is, I'll just comment this out, and what you can do is you can say margin, just margin, and let's say I write 15px, or maybe I'll just write 20 for now. Okay, so as soon as I save it, 20px, so you see 20 pixel has been given on all the sites. Okay, and in the similar way, if I say 20px and let's say 10px, so again this will be for my this will be given on the let me just make the value a bit more, just so that you can understand the difference. So this first property is for the top and bottom, and this is for the left and right. Similarly, if you want to give specifically for each side, you can also say 100px, 10px, maybe 50px, and then let's say 20px. So something like this will happen. Okay, so in this way we can basically deal with margins around our elements on the HTML page. Now similarly, if I talk about paddings, so padding is basically given on the inside, right? So let's say if I consider this border over here, let me just maximize the page again. Let me just go to inspect element again, and let's say I select this one, and let's say on this element I see that this is the dummy class in which I am having the P, right? So let's say on this dummy I see that the padding is like, there is no padding over here, right? So if I just go to this also, there is no padding, right? Now if I say that I want to give padding to this class 2, right? So let's say I write 20 over here. So you see that now this class 2 is basically having this border. Now the 20 padding has been added on the inside of the border, right? Similarly, if I add padding 20 over here, so it will be added inside. Okay, so just understand this difference over here. If I apply margins, margins are basically the space outside that particular element, while padding is applied on the inside of that particular element. And the way of writing this is also pretty much same. So if I just close this, go back, and maybe refresh it once. Okay, now if I want to apply padding over here, the syntax is pretty much same. I can use padding top, padding bottom, padding left, padding right, or I can just simply use padding, right? And that will be just taking the values. Let's say if I say 5px, so 5px will be added on all the 4 sides of this particular element, right? So in the similar way, padding also works. It basically depends on the use case, that how we are dealing with the like displaying of the elements on the page. Where do we want the spaces at, right? So you can use margins and paddings according to that.